Hi, welcome to Sean's Workshop. Today I thought I'd go over some hand tools that would be useful for those just starting out in woodworking. Let's start from the end here. We'll start with a straight edge. A straight edge comes in handy if you want to mark a line. Also, I prefer this a lot of times over a measuring tape like this, just because it's a little more accurate, but also obviously it's very limited in the length that you can measure. And like I said, the other thing would be a measuring tape. I usually don't go much bigger than 16 feet. Usually a lot of times when you're doing woodworking, it's under 8 feet long that you're going to be measuring. So 16 foot is a good size measuring tape to start with. Also, a level comes in handy. You can use this for more than just woodworking, obviously. You can use it as a straight edge. So you can buy, rather than getting a separate straight edge, you can actually use this as a straight edge. But this also comes in handy around the house for putting up door trim, hanging pictures, anything like that. Both measuring the plumb and the level of what you're putting up. Also, a good hammer obviously is a necessity. That's one of the first things obviously that you'd want to buy. I prefer the claw handle, or the claw that's like this, not the really steep one, because this one you can actually get better leverage when you need to remove nails. And I prefer fiberglass with a rubber handle. I really like this one. Also, in regards to hammers, here's a rubber mallet. Like if you're gluing something together and it's a tight fit, this comes in handy for tapping that wood, so it's not going to damage the wood. So a good rubber mallet comes in handy. In that same realm of using hammers, a good nail set. I have a pack of 4, but this is a good medium-sized one for setting nails, finishing nails if you don't have a nail gun. You get the finishing nail close to the surface of the wood. This would be good for recessing it in, and then after you recess it in with this nail set, you can fill it in with wood putty. A good set of chisels. Here I have a set of 3 chisels of varying widths. This comes in handy for if you're doing mortise and tenon work, for doing the mortises, or just removing wood in a hurry. These come in very handy. I prefer the thinner ones like this, where they're not quite so thick. The edges aren't sharp except for obviously the front of it, but a good set of 3 comes in handy, smaller size, medium, and large. For marking, a good carpenter pencil, or even a mechanical pencil. If you want to get real accurate, I would use a mechanical pencil, but here's a carpenter's pencil. Also, for accuracy, like if you want to lay out dovetails per se, you can use this marking gauge. You can see it's got a bevel on one edge and flat on the other, so you can get right up, as an example, right up to the edge of your marking line, and you can draw the line. It'll stay flat, but yet it'll make a nice starting line. That also comes in handy for, like I said, laying out dovetails. You can use that groove that it starts to start the saw in that same groove that you're marking. Also an awl for starting, like if you want to start a hole for a drill bit, where that you're going to drill. I just use this to indent in the wood first, and then your tip of your drill bit would fit in that hole to start drilling, so your drill doesn't wobble all over the wood. Bevel gauge. This you can set at multiple angles. This comes in handy, like if you want to measure something at 45, you can transfer it, flip it over to the other way. So this comes in very handy for measuring different angles of wood. Here's an adjustable square. This is probably one of my favorite hand tools in the shop. You can use it multiple ways. Obviously, you can use it to make sure that you're marking your line as square, but also I use it a lot for getting the depth. You can see there's a rule on it, and you can set that at, as an example, 2 inches like that, crank that tight, and I can just take my pencil, mark the line, and I know that that's going to be exactly 2 inches, and you can do that along, like if you want to set nails or anything like that. So that comes in real handy. The other thing I use it for a lot is just drawing a line. If you don't have a straight edge that's long enough, you can just slide that along with your pencil and mark your line on the edge of the wood. So that comes in very handy. That's, again, one of my favorite tools, actually, hand tools. Here's a speed square. I use this a lot if you do have a power tool like a circular saw. You can run the edge along this and get a nice straight edge, like if you want to cut a 2x4 and you want to make sure that your end of that 2x4 cut is square. If you don't have a circular saw, obviously just mark it and then you can cut it with a hand saw, but if you do have a circular saw, you can run that base of the circular saw right along there. So a speed square comes in very handy for that as well. Also, you can use this for setting the different angles on your wood. You see the different markings here, so you can also set that for measuring or setting the bevel as well. If you need to cut plywood, a chalk line. So you can use this to make the chalk line. Pull this out, hook it on the edge of the plywood, and go out to the other end of the plywood and just snap that chalk line. You'll have a nice straight line there as well. So a chalk line comes in very handy. As far as planes, a good block plane is nice to have. You can use this. I happen to use this one a lot. It's a low angle block plane. The angle is a little bit lower, and that comes in handy for cutting the end grains of wood and also the long grain. But it excels at really cutting the end grain of wood. If you set that mouth on this has an adjustable mouth, so you set that really close to the blade, and it makes nice fine shavings. The key there is keep the blade sharp. As far as cutting wood, I like the Japanese pull saws. This one happens to be, I think this one is called a Ryoba saw. It has the fine tooth on one side. You can see that for making nice fine cuts. And on the other side, you have your coarse cutting. So if you want to get aggressive and just cut something like rough cutting a 2x4, it works great. There's no spine on this, so you can cut right through, not having to worry about running into it, limiting it with the spine of the saw. Otherwise, if you're not into the Japanese pull saws, you can use the regular hand saw. This one is just a short one. I usually prefer a little longer one than this, but this works great for also cutting 2x4s and such. This one is a little bit coarser teeth. So like if you're doing fine woodworking, I would prefer, like I said, using this Japanese pull saw with the fine teeth there. If you need to do something, cut that's not a straight line and you don't have a jigsaw, this scroll saw, or coping saw I should say, works really well as well. You can adjust it, you can see it spins, so you can have, cut your different things. You're only limited to the throat of this, so if you've got some scroll work that you need to cut, this works great for that. The key there is to have a sharp blade and to also make the tension really tight on this saw. But this excels at cutting scroll work, if you will. This is not really in the realm of woodworking, but this is also a nice saw to have. This is a hacksaw, so if you need to cut metal for something like maybe you need something for woodworking that's a metal, like maybe a pull or something, or maybe you need a screw and it's a little bit long, hacksaw comes in handy for cutting that off as well to the right length. So this is obviously, there's a lot more hand tools, but this is a good starting point. None of these cost that much. I'd say that probably some of the more expensive ones would be your level and your hammer here. The Japanese pull saw is actually relatively inexpensive. Probably looking at $25 tops on this block plane. So that's probably $25 on down would buy most of this stuff. So this is a good starting point. I put a video out earlier on power tools that, you can, after you have your hand tools, check that video out for the different power tools. You'll find the link to that over here. Also, if you like the content of this, please subscribe to my channel, and thanks for watching.